As Israel battles Hamas, people are wondering, are we in the Gog-Magog war, or is this Armageddon? Tim and I are going to go through the 9 wars of the end times to explain where we are on the prophetic timeline. Stay tuned. Well, Tim, as you see the news each and every day, Israel is responding to Hamas's attacks, and so people are wondering, have we finally reached, and they're writing into the ministry and asking, oh, is this the Gog and Magog war, or is this Armageddon? Have we reached Armageddon? And where does the rapture fit in? So I was hoping we could take Dr. David Reagan's article, which I'm going to put that in the description below, and if you like these videos, please like, subscribe, and share. And what we're going to do is go through the 9 wars of the end times to help you understand where we are in the prophetic timeline. So let me go first here, and I would say that what we're seeing between Israel and Hamas, and probably with Lebanon jumps in, and surely some of the other countries, is we're getting close to what's called the Psalm 83 war. It's a prayer given by the seer Asaph about the future where Israel will eventually have to subdue the neighbors around them, and Israel will grow in size as a nation. It hasn't happened in history. There's been a series of wars since Israel was founded in 1948 where the Psalm 83 war could have fit, but Israel hasn't subdued their neighbors, so we're looking at getting closer to that.
Yeah, and I would say even this latest round of violence is a kind of a premonition of what's going to happen in that war, because the immediate neighbors around Israel, so you can imagine terrorist organizations like Hamas, Hezbollah in Lebanon, will foment this hatred, and other nations will seize the opportunity, and their street, if you will, the Arab street, will rise up with its satanically inspired hatred and attack Israel. It will fail. Following that, we come to the second war, the war of Gog and Magog, and specifically the outer ring of nations, but led by Russia and Turkey to the north, will try to attack Israel, to seize plunder and to take advantage of an opportunity. You can imagine plunder today could be natural resources, whether oil or some of the other minerals that are in Israel. And of course, we know that the Lord will defeat them on the mountains of Israel, and Israel will even collect the weapons of war and use those as a source of fuel for a number of years. And so that will be the second war that we're anticipating coming up at some point before too long.
Absolutely. And the rapture could happen before or after the Psalm 83 war. Again, the rapture is an imminent event. In other words, nothing needs to happen for it to happen. But the Gog and Magog war, which you can read in Ezekiel 38 and 39, really is dramatic, because God steps in and he destroys the Islamic nations, he destroys Russia, and so it's a really game changer. And I think the Gog-Magog war is between the rapture and the tribulation. I do have an article, I'll put the link below, that goes into great detail about trying to go through all the different arguments for the timings of it. But this ministry puts the Gog and Magog war just at the onset or just before the tribulation. So Tim, now we're getting into the tribulation.
And I will say this, even as we say we put it there, that's what we expect. But we look through a glass dimly. In other words, these are an outline of the wars in the order that we know that they're going to happen, but the exact timing we don't know.
Absolutely.
And so we're looking for Jesus Christ. But I agree with Nathan. I think that this war of Gog and Magog is likely to happen after the rapture, when many of the Christian nations have been decimated by Christians leaving with the church, and then Russia seizes an opportunity to take advantage. So we know that Russia and Turkey right now are kind of joined together on Israel's northern border, but they're looking for an opportunity that will likely come after the rapture.
Absolutely. Well, that's we're moving then into the tribulation, Revelation 6, and you get to the conventional war of the tribulation. That's when the Antichrist rises to power, and to consolidate his global empire, he will then set off to conquer the world.
Yes, so that conventional war is a traditional war where famine and everything else is a result. Many people will die as the Antichrist consolidates his power, but it will lead to what we call the fourth war of the end times, and that will be a nuclear war. And we describe it as a nuclear war because of the way the Bible describes the loathsome sores and the impact on the entire world. And so we think that will be a nuclear exchange that will create those kinds of repercussions for the people still living here during the tribulation.
And you can read that in Revelation chapters 8 and 9.
Yes.
And that takes to the war of the heavens. There's actually a war of one of the 9 end times wars that doesn't happen here. Revelation 12 says Satan tries one last time to overthrow God, and he's kicked out once and forever from his access to the throne room of God. And Satan and his demons know that their time is short. Satan knows Bible prophecy. He knows he only has 3.5 years yet. So that war is the 5th war, the war in heaven.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Nathan, just as an aside, a lot of people think, well, Satan would have no access to heaven. But Scripture describes that in the book of Job, Satan came before God in the heavenly host, and he still comes to accuse us. Now, we can't understand how that works, but we know that when that war in the heavens occurs, Satan will be cast out, and he will be filled with such fury that he will turn his hatred in an even more aggressive manner toward the Jewish people and toward those who have put their faith in Jesus Christ during the tribulation. That will lead to the war against the Jews and the saints described in Revelation 12, the 6th war in this series, again, because of Satan being cast out and being filled with fury.
Excellent. Well, the Antichrist empire starts falling apart. And you get Daniel 11 talks about the Middle East campaign of the Antichrist. The king of the south rebels against him. The king that he sets up in the east will start bringing an army to rebel against him. So he's having to deal with a civil war within his empire during that battle.
He sure is. And as a matter of fact, it is during that battle, which actually is pitched between the Antichrist and all the other nations that are beginning to rebel against him, that Jesus Christ comes, and we have what's known as the Battle of Armageddon. As all of these armies are arrayed in the valley of Megiddo, then Jesus Christ will come. He will set foot on the Mount of Olives, and he will speak a word. People think this is going to be a horrific war with a great clash of armies. Really, it's going to be the shortest war in all of history as Jesus utters a word, and all those armies literally rot standing where they are, and the blood fills the valley up to the level of a horse's bridle. So that can be found in Joel chapter 3, Zechariah 14, and of course Revelation 19. And that will usher in then the millennial reign of Jesus Christ.
And so for 1,000 years, there's peace and righteousness and justice. Jesus' kingdom, he rules from Jerusalem. But at the end, he releases Satan so that the people born during the millennial kingdom can choose Jesus or not. Many will side with Satan, and you get the very end of that 1,000-year reign, and it's called the second battle of Gog and Magog, found in Revelation 20. And that's Jesus wastes no time. He doesn't spend 7 years. Fire comes down, incinerates him, great white throne judgment, and we move on to the eternal state. So that is the 9 wars of the end times.
It is. And you know, even that last battle demonstrates how we all have a choice to make. You would think the people living in a kingdom, a reign of Jesus Christ, where peace, justice, and holiness floods the earth, would obviously choose to continue worshiping and honoring Christ. But deep in their hearts, the seed of rebellion and sin, given half a chance when Satan is released, will cause many to turn their backs on Jesus Christ, to rebel against him. And so right now, each of us has an opportunity to choose this day whether to honor and worship Christ or whether to rebel against him. Folks, don't wait to make that choice. And so even as many of you may have a fascination with the wars, the war that rages in our own hearts, Nathan, of sin is the one that we must conquer. And we don't have the ability to do it on our own. Jesus Christ has already won the victory in that particular war, and all we have to do is put our faith in him, and then we too can be victorious.
Well said, Tim. Well said. So keep your eyes on Israel. It's God's prophetic time clock. It means that the rapture is coming soon. As Tim said, where is your heart? Have you given it to Jesus Christ today? If so, let us know. God bless.